25, 2 more comes from where.
Well, here I am on the northern Northumbrian border, a place called Flodden Field, where the bloodiest battle in English history took place 512 years ago, the Battle of Flodden between England and Scotland. And yeah, I never thought I'd be here today. I should have been getting off a flight about now from Mexico City to Tulum before travelling up to Playa del Carmen for a couple of weeks. Long story short, flight was overbooked. I didn't make it, but maybe I'll be back there in a week or two, I just don't know. So I thought I'd come here, have a little road trip out, and yeah, from the Mexican Caribbean beaches to Branxton Hill in the distance there. Really nice view of the actual battlefield. This is where the English I should say, were all lined up all the way along here. And then the Scottish up on the top of that hill there. And apparently the death zone, where all of the horror took place, was right in the middle here, because it used to be like a moor. It used to be very flooded, boggy ground. So, but it's all been drained off now apparently, so it's not as bad, but you can still see how it's right down in a dip. So this place here, yeah, apparently where 10,000 Scottish soldiers died in no more than 3 hours, and the battle actually, it's 4 p.m. now, exactly the time it was meant to have started 512 years ago. And yeah, like I say, 10,000 Scottish at least. And then apparently, so some leading academics say, up over the brow was where all the Scottish baggage train, the women, the families, supplies, everything were as well. And there's an estimate that maybe 40,000 of those were killed too. But that's never talked about, probably for obvious reasons. And I think there was around 3,000 or 4,000 English soldiers killed here as well. Which basically means, again, from what I read from this academic summarising it, because he did some archaeological digs here, the death toll here amounted to 2% of Scotland's population, which was more than Great Britain lost in all of World War I on weighted for population size. So the populations as they were, population size as it was back in 512 years ago, the death toll outweighed the death toll in 4 years of mechanised industrial war, World War I, which is incredible. It's staggering to think that there was that much of the population of Scotland that fell in and around this area here. Just take a little walk along the edge of or probably right up through the middle of the battlefield here. Apparently there's been quite a bit of paranormal activity here as well. There's been some pretty interesting... I listened to a couple of podcasts. Well, one, and a short YouTube summary on it, about people having seen groups. There was one very interesting one. A woman came down from Scotland for a commemoration, and she was driving back the next morning, and she came just to stop by again on her journey back up north, and she parked in the car park just down here. And as she pulled in, she saw, by her estimation, 40 or 50 people, some of them on their hands and knees, seemingly looking for things in the ground. And she parked the car, got out the car, something like 10 seconds later, a bit thinking like, wow, what are these people doing? And then they had all disappeared. And a couple of other people have came up and I believe done some form of investigations and picked up a lot of voice activity, human voices, a lot of like EMF activity as well. So I'm going to stay into darkness and see what scope there is to maybe carry out an investigation. Like I say, 512 years ago, the battle would have been fully raging around me right now, which is like, I find that so profound to think about, that there would have been tens of thousands of troops along here. I think the same up here, 30 or 40,000 troops up here, maybe less than that, and cannons firing at each other. And there would have just been absolute turmoil and mayhem going on right now where I'm stood at this time 512 years ago. It's yeah, it's quite a, it's very hard to get your head around that sometimes, just to be in the middle of these spots. I guess it's a first for me to be on one of these ancient battlefields, and obviously with this being the biggest battlefield in terms of the amount of people who lost their lives on English soil, it's quite a profound thought really. But apparently it hasn't changed much, like the dynamic, the topography, the layout, the way the hills are. Branxton Hill up here, I believe actually Flodden Hill is over the back, but they didn't name it Branxton, the Battle of Branxton, for some reason, because it didn't sound as catchy as Flodden. I actually think Branxton actually has a bit of a better ring to it. So yeah, I'm going to do a route around, read the information boards, of which there's 2 here, and maybe then carry out an investigation. Okay, I just disturbed what I was clearly an eagle or a buzzard, or I don't know. I'm not so good with my ornithology species these days, but it looks like I disturbed its dinner, and that looks like a hare, not a rabbit. So I think I'll be back for it. Well, it's obviously getting pretty dark now, but you can see I made my way along the line of the ploughed soil and all the way down here, and then skirted back along the perimeter, and then came up here, up Branxton Hill. So I'm about halfway up Branxton Hill, but I'm not going to go any further up because I want to go back down into the midsection of it, the swampy land, and I might set some equipment up and spend another hour here in the darkness and maybe carry out a little investigation. You can see over there in the east, see the moon, looks huge. Big blood moon about to come up as well, which I think it's not too far off a full moon tonight as well. I know its peak was about November 5th or November 4th, something like that. But yeah, that's coming up in real time. So yeah, actually see it. I might just hold this with the camera just so I can capture that. If I can find a suitable place to perch it, of course, and not get caught on barbed wire. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think it's kind of fitting to be here as this moon comes up. thinking back to what it must have been like and the height of the battle. It would have been raging right now. And then, yeah, 512 years later, get that moon coming up from the east. And with the sound, the wonderful sound of a modern chainsaw. Well, that's incredible. It's beautiful to see that come up, I think. Well, that was just beautiful to watch that come up. It was, you could see it come up in real time, and what a sight. I don't think the GoPro itself will do it justice, but what a beautiful moment, yeah. To see that come up over this battlefield like that. So I'm going to pick my way back down to the main area where the bulk of the battle took place, and I'm going to carry out a small investigation for an hour or so. I'm just going to sit. Hopefully all of these human-made sounds will stop, the chainsaws, and all I can hear would just be silence and anything else which chooses to be heard. But I'll set some equipment up. It's a still night, there's no wind, it's calm, and I think I'll put my voice recorder out as well, leave that running for a little while, and yeah, just set some equipment up. And been quite a, like I say, just to come up to this place anyway is another famous landmark checked off the list of famous places to visit, which are basically on my doorstep. I don't need necessarily to be travelling to exotic places to appreciate something, and this is certainly one of them. There's some places in Northumberland which are just as appealing to me as anywhere else really. That said, I was meant to be on a beach, Playa del Carmen, right now. So I've set some equipment up. It's now dark. I mean, I was thinking coming much later at night, but my theory was I wanted to be here during the time the battle took place. Now I know that sounds a bit strange, but I guess just knowing that it was going on now 512 years ago just makes it more profound, you know. You can feel you can never connect to it, but just to know that it was happening now is more profound, I guess. So I've set some equipment up along this pathway, which pretty much bisects the ridge line where the English were. Right over here, you won't be able to see it, and Branxton Hill up here where the Scots were. And right here along this line, more or less, in this gutter where the marsh was, is where the bulk of the horror took place. So I'm just going to sit here and just draw my senses down to a minimum and see what I feel, but it's deeply profound being here for sure. Well, I've just had a spirit ball triggered, and there isn't a breath of wind. That is insanely interesting. There isn't a breath of wind at all. It's just not enough luck. It's as grass, there's no moving one bit. Okay, well I feel, yeah, I don't know what to feel. But that, I think, something has moved that, or something has triggered the electrical elements to it. So yeah, the only sounds so far, farmers' vehicles, I think farmers' vehicles. To be expected because it's only 17:25, so life is still going on. People finishing for the day, but I know right now this is the time to be here for me. And it just feels, like I say, I'm trying to make sense of what it feels like. It's a pressing sensation. There is a a sadness, just like a sadness in the air. It's strange, it just feels... But anyway, I'm very interested in that. Something has definitely triggered that. And it isn't wind. Okay, so I got an update and I don't know what to make of this at all. But I was looking out over the line of the battlefield, and you can't really make it out here because the grass is actually it's only knee high, you know, it's like this on the other side, just over there. Then it goes on to farmed land. Now, I was kneeling down, sat here for quite some time, and I can't explain this. Two things happened. Three things. The first thing, it sounded like money in a bag, jingling, and it was in front of me. And I thought, okay. I heard it, 100%. And then the second thing, the strangest thing of all three, was as I was looking out into the darkness, and this is where I don't know if it was my visual tricks being played or not, but the only way I can describe it is when you look at a fire and you see the flames flicker, but you can make out peaks. This looked like figures, but moving like fire. It was shimmering, it was almost viscerally flame-like, without any colour. It was just distortion in the darkness, and it seemed to behave like flickering fire, but it looked like jostling bodies. And I was looking at it, turned my torch on, and there was nothing in that line where I could see it other than mowed soil. Kept looking, gradually seemed to disappear, and I can't see it now. Now that's pretty strange, pretty interesting. And the third thing, footsteps. I heard something run through the grass. Now that could be an animal, but I heard it running through the grass. It didn't appear to be particularly heavy, but it was footsteps. Whether it was an animal, I would probably say it was. But yeah, that's my update so far. I'm going to give it a little bit more time. We had a little bit of strange activity, like I say. The only thing that's been triggered is that one ghost ball, and some, like I say, some strange behaviour just behind me. Just the way in which I saw that distortions, very, very strange. But that was, I was watching it, I could see it playing out against the backdrop of the mowed field. Okay, so I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to head back to the car and the 90-minute drive back home. What can I conclude about this place while it's fresh in my memory? Well, certainly no environmental factors could have triggered that spirit ball, ghost ball thing, cat ball. It was triggered, it moved, something created something to trigger it for sure, and it wasn't environmental, natural. There's just no wind, nothing is moving. I even had blades of grass situated on a couple of the other fence poles, and nothing was moved. So, interesting. But what is weirder, certainly stranger, was what I saw once I just settled in and was looking out over the battlefield. And what I can only describe was, I don't even know what the hell that was. I can only picture it as being a little bit like the way fire moves. Not as quick, more standardized. That's why I said it looked more like figures, all of the same height, but moving almost like fire. And it was thick with them, almost like people on a field, on a battlefield, moving like that. And it was distinct, and I could see it all in front of me. And there was nothing other than when you shine the torch onto what is in front of it, it is just simply ploughed black field. There is no bushes that is picking up maybe residual light that are moving in the wind that give the impression that it could be something that looks like humans moving. It is just black soil. So I could see it. I'm looking at it thinking, what in the hell is going on with this? That coincided with footsteps, and it also coincided with jingly noises, like something in a bag. So make of that what you will. Oh yeah, it's got a feeling to this place, as you'd expect, given what happened here. But I don't know what to make of that. I don't know what to make of it. I guess we've all become conditioned to wanting to see things which, at least on the paranormal realm, are being visceral, that jump out at you, literally, figuratively. But I think a lot of these just tend to potentially be very low-key energy, barely perceptible maybe. Subtle things, but maybe there is a record here, held, some form of record held in the environment, I don't know. But we do know that 512 years ago, all hell was being played out right now, at this very moment, where I'm stood. Pure brutality of the worst order. Anyway, yeah, on that reflective note, I'm going to take a slow walk back, and that's the end of the session for tonight.